So, one of the things, we can plan all we want, but, personal and professional doesn't always align. So, a little bit back to the story about, delivering your son as a single mom while you're also going through FDA approval and, you just can't time those things. A lot of founders are similarly, going through, varied experiences where they're either planning for maternity leave, but, how do you leave your own company and how do you talk to your investors about it? What advice do you have for, other women generally, but also other women founders who are kind of in this senior role who are kind of juggling the two and, maybe the timing isn't ideal, whether it's you just raised a fund or you're at a certain, inflection point in the growth journey. What advice would you have?
Don't overthink it because you will be overwhelmed. If someone, like when I start fundraising, actually when at very beginning started, I was still married at the time. Um, I didn't know all the obstacles. I didn't count all the no's I would have gotten. And also in hindsight, I didn't know all the challenges I will have. So all I focused is this is the next step. I need to get this done and do it. And it might be risky if we start to think about the perfect timing. Often we probably just won't make the first step. I give you like the example is as I think my whether or not to have a second child. I start to get to the mode like keep thinking and then realize there's never gonna be a time that I feel I'm ready, right? If I had the same thought, I probably would not had my son, which would be the worst decision I've ever made in my life. And if I thought rationally at the time, I might get to the conclusion, say, oh, there's no way I can do both. But somehow, when you are in the position, you often, many of us, would underestimate what we're capable of doing. You will rise to the occasion and you will have people around you support you and get you there. So don't overthink about it and lean in before you step back, right? And if you really truly believe that's something you want, go for it. You'll manage childcare. I managed it, and as a single mom, I'm still managing. And thankfully to the, of course, the financial resource I have, but I know we can all do it.
That's great advice and great perspective to keep in mind. I mean, I think the personal professional, I always struggle with this because it's really not a balance, right? We're always kind of just, making the best of what we can, but we all have things, personal outlets, routines that we have that kind of make the most of every day. What's your outlet?
Probably quite cliched. I still watch a lot of movies. I like more entertaining movies now than artsy movies back in film school. I exercise, so I do weightlifting with my trainer. So I also go for runs. I read a lot. And the silver lining of actually being a single mom, I have alone time when my son is with his dad. So I actually get to read a lot. And hopefully after COVID, I can get to spend more time with my friends. So really nothing that different. Oh, I did pick up meditation last year, thanks to a dear friend. It has been one of the best things I'm doing to myself and supporting myself.
You'll have to give me some pointers on that. I feel like meditation is the one thing I've always wanted to get into, but it just never quite happens.
That's what I thought because I was like, my mind is way too busy to do meditation. I can share already, if I may, I share a trick. My friend suggested after exercise, you do the meditation because your brain is more relaxed. You have, I don't want to go to a place that neuroscientists would yell at me, but you have all these neurotransmitters that's favorable for you to meditate and calm down. But I could say, even though I just have a big list, I think one thing that I think like many of us um, start doing differently after COVID or during COVID is this whole concept of self-care, right? So I start to be more mindful, say, literally block my calendar I track my meditation time, I track my exercise time and sleep time, and make sure I'm doing self-care as the top priority, even before my son and before the company, because that's the foundation of everything.
Absolutely. Well, if you can't take care of yourself, you can't take care of anyone else, right? Being a scientist, and you mentioned reading, and you're constantly reflecting on, different capabilities and skills that you need to build as a leader. As you kind of reflect on your experiences thus far, is there something that you believed early on in your career that you no longer believe?
I used to think as a CEO, as a leader, you have to be this very charismatic person. You get on stage, you can give this super inspiring motivational talks just on spot, right? And because of that, I always thought I can never be an inspiring leader. I thought I can just be a manager and manage things because I solve problems. And over the years, I realized there are different leaders. Um, the the bigger my responsibility become, the more I realize being a leader is so much of a reflection of being who we are. Um, when I'm positive and supportive as a person, it will come out as a leadership that's positive and supportive. And so I start to realize I don't have to be this charismatic person and speak about give motivational speeches. I can build the leadership based on who I am. And so what is my strength, right? So my strength is I can really create a clear vision that it comes relatively easy for me, but might be very hard for other people to see. And I'm really passionate about that vision. I can motivate people and help people to see that vision. And I can see a path to get there. So that's how I lead my team. And also, the other part, I really value everyone, that I want everyone to succeed. And it's not about me, it's about we all get to that goal together. And that makes the leader, because that's who I am. So I think that's probably the biggest myth I overcome over the years.
I mean, that's so powerful. I mean, that's one of the reasons that we wanted to create her story because there is no best practice for, what makes a good leader, right? We all have our individual strengths and styles and, getting to learn from, different people and different vantage points. I think that just helps, hopefully it should help, change that perception that, you don't have to be the most charismatic or you don't have to do this or do that. You can kind of embrace your own individuality with that. So I guess then, looking back to, the origin story to young Jane, growing up in this, small town China, what advice would you give your younger self?
Stop being so harsh on yourself. Stop criticizing yourself. Just stop that. And of course, my younger self would not listen. In hindsight, it's really true. The younger version was so much about having this checkbox. I have to check every single box. The moment I achieve something is what's next. It's so much anxiety driven. Um, and so much about proof myself to others, and without really knowing my own strengths. So now, in hindsight, I would give the advice to myself and um, maybe people who are younger than me is focus on your strengths and stop being too critical to yourself and build on your strengths because that's how we become excellent in something. And the best we can do to fix our weakness is just become okay, right? And we're never gonna shine by fixing our weakness. We need to do that. But who we are, what we want to do, and what kind of leader we want to do will be based on our strengths and be really clear about our own strengths.
So, as you know, we like to ask all of our guests, if they were to write their autobiography, what would be the title of their book? But I think I'll modify that for you, being the filmmaker, and say, if you were to, name your own documentary or film about Jane, what would be the title of it?
Oh gosh, part of the reason I quit film school is because I realized I'm so bad with wording, and so coming up with a film name is not my strength. Maybe something like how I overcame the biggest imposter syndrome and benefited from it. See, it's not a good title,
No, it's not about. It's not about. It's don't
but
judge a
that's
book
the
by its
theme.
cover.
Yeah, that's the theme. I'm sure
Yeah.
someone good with words would come up with something, but I think that summarized my journey.
We have so much to learn from you, Jane. Thank you for spending the time to share with us. You've had an extraordinary career thus far, and I know you're at a really interesting inflection point in the growth of Ceribell, and we're all really excited to continue to track your progress and see what else is in store. So thank you for your contributions to the industry.
Thank you for having me. It's really fun. I enjoyed it. Thank you.